live on YouTube. Ooh, oi, oi. You're live. Let's go with today. Morning reading with the slide age. Today I'll be continuing my reading of the slide age yesterday. Okay, so we were on um, page 3 of the book only. Um, and yesterday was still very storytelling of how the author became his awesomeness with the theory of slide age. I'm going to continue with today as well. If you guys have anything, to help me better my pronunciation or make the live stream more interesting to you guys, then let me know. All right, I'm doing this. All right, I'm going to butt it up this one over here so that I look more nerdy. Okay, let's go. My day of disgust. Okay, my day of disgust. The transition from beach bum to millionaire did not happen overnight. It was long, slow, at times painful roller coaster process. Because frankly, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't yet have the key you are getting in this book. I didn't know about the slide age. See, this is the turning point of the storytelling technique. I was working it out by try and error, lots of errors. I was born and raised in Albuquerque. My dad died when my brother, sister, and I were just as kids. And somehow my mom held everything together. She was a terrific mother, a loving and constant presence in our lives. But it was still a rough way to grow up as a fatherless, blonde-headed kid in a Hispanic neighborhood where he didn't fit in. I didn't know what to do with I didn't know what to do with it all, so I channeled my energy into mischief and misbehavior. A few years before my dad died, when I was in the third grade, my teachers had informed my mom that I had low IQ. Now I started proving the point and pretty quickly had gained that mischief maker reputation. While my mom worked her way through the years, I struggled my way through school. By age 18, it was clear to anyone who knew me that I didn't have much of a future. I begged my way into the University of New Mexico, and at college, I built upon my previous academic career and succeeded in taking my C average down to a D average. I did learn one thing though. I learned that when spring break came, all the students went out east to Daytona Beach for a week to party hard. I thought I could I thought I could do them one better. I quit school altogether and moved there. In Daytona Beach, I I pursued I pursued my first calling as a beach bum with the long curly locks. The to make ends meet to make ends meet. All right, interesting. If you can call it if you can call it that, I took a job at the Orlando Country Club cutting the golf course grass. One day, as I was cutting the greens under the scorching Florida sun, I paused to watch the wealthy club members playing golf all over the porcelain smooth grass I had just cut for them. Watching them hum to and fro in their zippy golf carts, in their dapper golf outfits, with their classy golf bags filled with expensive golf clubs, I felt a burning question simmering up inside. Why the fuck is it that they are over there riding in carts and I'm over here walking? I don't get it. How come they were oh how come they were over How come they were over there putting while I was over here cutting? Hey, I was as good as these people were. Why did they get why did they get to have it 10 times, 20 times better than me? Were they 20 times better than me? Were they 20 times smarter? Or did they work 20 times harder? I didn't think so. I felt like there was something going on here that I should get, something that ought to be crystal clear, but that for me was as clear as mud. It all just seemed so unfair. For whatever reason, As happens in so many people's life, I found myself staring squarely at a fork in the road, a point I now refer to as my day of disgust. The moment of impact we the moment of impact we sometimes hit in our lives when we come smack face to face with our circumstances and without having a clue to what or how of it, make a decision to change. In that instant, standing there sweltering in the brutal Florida heat, I came to just such a moment of decision. I suddenly knew that I had it up to here with where I was and what I was. Something clicked. The tumblers in the lock fell into place, and I knew that I could never go back to where only be, I knew I could never go back to where I had been only moments earlier. I knew that for things to be different, I had to do something different. I had found one piece of puzzle, only a piece, and not nearly enough to find my way to genuine, lasting success, but enough to get started on the path of pursuit, the super achiever. On the heels of that day of disgust, epiphany, I walked away from the golf course, loaded my stereo and clothes into my 1964 Dodge Dart Slant 6. All my possessions fit easily into the back seat with room left over for a passenger. Seems like a car. And took off for Albuquerque. The car kept overheating so bad that it took me 6 days just to get to Texas. It was a long it was the longest trip of my life. And not just because of the crappy car, but because of the distance I traveled in my heart and soul. When I arrived in New Mexico, I had resolved that I was going to forever leave behind the land of mediocrity and start inhabiting the world of high achievement. I was going to pour it on, go on all eight cylinders. Okay, for the moment that would be all six cylinders and do whatever it took to move my life ahead. As I said, all my life had been no better than anything I've done. Average grades, average in athletics, average social skills. I knew that the only way that I could ever become anybody was by working harder and being more persistent. If I wanted to be if I wanted to have a prayer of a chance of getting on the team, I had to work harder in the practices. If I wanted to impress somebody in the social world, I had to work harder at it. If I was going to get good grades, I would have to study harder. So I did. That semester, for the first time in my life, I got straight A's. I went on to business school and graduated from the top of my class, and the rest, you could say, was history. Except that it wasn't. I didn't know it yet, but just working harder doesn't do it. If it did, then everyone who works hard would have made it. All you have to do is look around you and you can see that this isn't the case. The world is chock full of people who are working their butt off and then still getting their butts kicked by circumstances. I was about to find this out. Fresh out college, I went to work at the Albuquerque International Airport, where I continued to put it on and work my tail off. In what seemed like no time at all, I had become one of the youngest international airport managers in the country. I was such hot management material that I was recruited away from the airport by the Dallas-based tech giant Texas Instruments, where I worked for the next 5 years and advanced to the management level as a manager in the company's intelligence system division. But corporate America wasn't for me. There was a lot of politics. Oh my gosh. Which I hated. And it didn't feel like I yet found a place where I belonged. And I was clearly on a super achieving role, right? Honestly, okay. Whew. Honestly, I felt like I could accomplish anything I put my mind to. Like I learned the magic words, found the secret formula. So I struck out on my own and set my foot on the entrepreneurial path. Moving back to Albuquerque again, I started a solar energy company. I knew nothing about solar energy, and I barely knew whether the sun came up in the east or in the west. It's in the east, it turns out. But with 400 solar companies in the state, New Mexico was the capital of the budding new industry. So ignorance or not, the smart course of action seemed clear. And at first, it looked like I had indeed made a very smart decision. Within 2 years, my company was one of the top in the nation. And before long, we became one of the largest solar companies in America. I was thrilled, on top of the world. What I didn't yet know was that nothing ever stays the same. Everything is in motion, and always. Everything changes. And that was what happened next. Times change, tax law changed, our industry was hit hard. And before I knew what was happening, my company had collapsed and I had lost everything, gone back to zero and below, owing more money than I could have ever hoped to make again. I couldn't believe it. My super achievements had turned to dust right before my eyes. My millionaire life had evaporated, leaving me right back in Beach Bum Land, the guy with nothing. They even took my car. They even took my car. My night of despair. The night my car was towed away, the night that my car was towed away, I sat there despondent, in disbelief. Years earlier, as a failed college student, I I'd had my day of disgust. Now the other shoe had dropped. And as a failed entrepreneur, I just arrived my night of despair. I could not comprehend what had just happened to me. After living as a failure all my life, one day I awoke and came to my senses. Went back to college, applied myself like crazy, entered at the bottom and graduated at the top. Worked for a major corporation for 5 years and went to the very top there. Built my own company in less than 5 years and went to the top there. I had built myself from a failure into a success. And now, after 14 long years of upward travel, I've somehow arrived back at the bottom. I was more broke than I'd ever been when I was George strutting, strutting, shooting. How do you pronounce it? Was shooting on the beach in his cutoffs. 12 years of blood and guts, and for what? I just could not wrap my head around it. I couldn't see the justice or even the logic of any of it. I felt like that teenager again, confused, angry at a world where nothing made sense. Was life just inherently unfair, with no rhyme or reason to it? Was there no point in even trying? That was when I began to examine more carefully what had happened in my life. This time, it was no epiphany. This time, it wasn't like that moment on the Orlando golf course. There was no switch I could throw in my life, no sudden resolution to make things better. I'd already done that, and look at where it had gotten me. No, this time I needed to sit down and start carefully, method, methodic, me, methodically, methodically, systematically, sorting through the mixed up pieces of my shattered life. There had to be some logic here, and I had to find it. So, let's see. I had been a college dropout, a beach bum, and complete financial failure. Let me see. Okay, financial failure. Um, and I had also been a straight A student, top corporate manager, super achieving entrepreneur in a cutting edge industry, and complete financial success. And all of those had been the same person. So what was the difference? It made no sense. Or did it? The more I looked at it, the more it seemed to me that this roller coaster was not a matter of bad luck or fluke of circumstance. It couldn't be. There was something about what I was doing that wasn't working. But on the other hand, there had obviously been times when I was doing when what I was doing had totally worked. So what was the difference? For the first time, I began to see that over the years of my career, I had gone through a sequence of experiences that held the secret to my success, as well as to failure. I began to see the seeds of both Bitch Bum and Millionaire lay in the simple actions I took every day. Interesting. Coffee, guys. Coffee is for winner. Okay, let's continue. escaping the curse of the roller coaster. Up to that point, I knew I was average. If I had continued accepting that as simply the way things were, then nothing much in my life would have turned out for me. The shift in my life began happening when I stopped taking it for granted that just because I was an average guy, that meant I was doomed to no more than average results. Interesting. I now started questioning whether this was true. This was true. I began doing a systematic review of my life and taking a very close look at my actions and results. And here's what I saw. When people are looking down the barrel of failure in their lives, they will do whatever it takes to get themselves moving. Something, anything, to start climbing upward toward the point of survival. And then once they get to the point where they are keeping their heads above water, they start heading back down again. As they start getting close enough to the filler line and that they can see it coming, they go, "Whoops! I'm headed toward fillers. Whoops! I'm headed toward fillers." And then they do whatever it takes to turn their trajectory around and start heading back up. And the cycle repeats. Oh shit! This resonates a lot to me. Damn. All right. Notice that. Hmm. That's what I've been doing, and that's what so many people do, living their entire lives like this, oscillating between failure and survival, striving towards success, and maybe even reaching the level of success, but then invariably turning back and heading downward again. We do this in our finances, in our health, in our relationships, and in our lives as a whole. Why? Well, you could say it's because we sabotage ourselves and all kinds of reasons. Our father was mean to us, so now we are mean to ourselves. We are conflicted because the society sends us mixed messages. We are fallen don't feel we deserve success. And maybe some of those things are true for you. Heck, maybe you're all true. I have no idea, and truthfully, I don't really care. Because none of that matters. The truth is, whatever other factors may or may not be there, the only reason we keep following this roller coaster of almost success and nearly failure, this sine wave of mediocrity, this curse of the average, is that we are missing one simple point. That was the point I stumbled on. As I began examining, as I began examining. Hmm.
Examining.
Examining. As I began examining my successes and failures, what I gradually realized was that the very same activities that I had rescued me from failure, that had carried me from the failure line up to the survival line, would also would also rescue me from average and carry me from the survival line to the success line if I would just keep doing that. And that was exactly the point. That I was exactly what I that was exactly what I wasn't doing. Once I got a little way above survival and was starting to head up into warmer waters of success without realizing it or thinking about it, I would stop doing the things that had gotten me there. Naturally, I would then start sinking back down again, back down towards survival and beyond, back down toward the failure line. And I did that every fucking time. That's the only reason our lives follow that roller coaster. It's that simple. As soon as we get away from failure and up past the line of survival, we quit doing the things that got us there. You know what that means? It means you already know how to do everything it takes to make you an outrageous success. That's how you survived up to this point. And if you can survive, then you can succeed. If you don't need to do some brilliant, impossible thing, you don't need to learn some insanely difficult skills or have some genius level brainstorm an innovative idea. All you have to do is keep doing the things that got you that got you this far, which is exactly 99.9% of people don't do. What those things are, why most people don't do them, and how you can live an outrageously happy and successful life by doing them is what this book is all about. I began to realize that there was a profound success secret hidden within that roller coaster. If we would just keep doing the things that got us from failure up to survival in the first place, the things we already know how to do and were already doing it, they would eventually carry us all the way to success. What exactly are those things? What are the actions that move us upward on that curve? And what are the actions that drive us down? I'll tell you what they are in a single word: simple. The things that take you out of failure and up to survival and success are simple. Holy shit. This is a pattern interrupt right here. I don't get it. So simple. In fact, that it's easy to overlook them. Extremely easy to overlook them. It's easy to overlook them because when you look at them, they seem insignificant. They are not big, sweeping things that take huge effort. They are not heroic or dramatic. Mostly they are just little things to do every day and that nobody else even notices. There are things that are so simple to do, yet successful people actually do them, while unsuccessful people only look at them and don't take action. Things like taking a few dollars out of a paycheck, putting it into savings and leaving it there, or doing a few minutes of exercise every day and not skipping it, or reading 10 pages of an inspiring, educational, life changing book every day, or taking a moment to tell someone how much you appreciate them and doing that consistently every day for months and years. Little things that seem insignificant in the doing, yet when compounded over time yield very big results. You can call these little virtues or success habits. I call them simple daily disciplines. Simple productive actions repeated consistently over time. That, in a nutshell, is the Slight Edge. Wow! So the Slight Edge simply means that, like simple daily disciplines, simple productive actions repeated consistently over time. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. All right. Beach bum or millionaire. The reason I'm telling you the story of a beach bum and the millionaire is that it's not only the story of my life, it's the story of your life too. You have both a beach bum and a millionaire inside you, a potential failure and a potential success. We all do. What makes the difference in how things turn out? Actually, you do. The truth is, you have complete control over the direction and that the rest of your life takes. Since that night of despair, I built some very successful businesses and earned more money than I ever dreamed of back when I was a corporate manager or solar energy entrepreneur. I've also experienced more joy and fulfillment in my relationships than I knew was possible. As I write these words, I am healthier, more energized, and more alive today than I was 10 years ago. I am happier today. I have better relationships and more satisfying professional life than I did 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, things were already going pretty well. In fact, my life today is better in every way than it was 10 years ago. And I expect to be saying the same thing 10 years from now. Of course, I could lose it all tomorrow. It's happened before, I've survived, but there isn't something I cannot lose. And with that one thing, I could start from scratch and build it all up, back up again, and do it in a record time. That one thing is the Slight Edge. One more thing. When I say millionaire, I'm not talking purely about money or financial success. I'm using the term as a label for success, but it's only a label, a metaphor. Just as beach bum is only a metaphor. When I say millionaire, I mean someone with $1 million smile, with a million friends, with $1 million worth, heck, a billion and $1 trillion worth of joy, love, contentment, fulfillment, great relationships, curiosity and fascination, passion and enthusiasm, excitement and accomplishment, a fortune's worth of life in their life. I want that life for you. Nice. That was good. Wow. So pretty much about what I've just read, the simple one takeaway that I got is the slight edge is simply a daily productive actions and habits that you do repeatedly, consistently over a long period of time, which is simply in a way is your small daily habits, which keep you moving you towards your success. That's it. Simply simple as fuck, right? But not a lot of people do that, and that's the problem. In my case, a lot of times I've given up my good habits because of my bad habits. So this is where I need to really, you know, have a thinking time and no, not really. Why do I have a thinking time? No, but to really, I need to sit down. I need to sit. No, I don't need to sit down. But I mean, I need to. No, not I need to, but I must change my habits. That's the thing. You see, that bad programming is still resisting my change. So that is the reading for today in the morning. Slight edge. See you guys in the evening with the book The Magic.